Welcome to another Wasteland Spotlight, my friends. Today we will be taking a look at Rock Tank Ranch, one of the many old tank corrals out here in the Mojave Desert. Locations just like this are spread throughout the entire desert region, and they could serve many purposes for the future post-collapse survivor. So sit back and relax while I take you on a tour and explain some of the history of this place and others like it. Welcome to the Wasteland, my friends. Another day, another drive across the desert. Of all the miles I've put on this poor aging Jeep, I think more of them are off-road than on it, and you know what? It's a lot more satisfying that way if you ask me. The drive out to Rock Tank Ranch is a lonely, dusty one, but then everything's dusty out here. Tank locations like the one we're heading to had a lot to do with how this region became the way it is. Most of the land that is now the desert southwestern United States has been used for sheep and cattle grazing at one time or another over the past 150 years. Livestock was present in the area as part of the earliest American uses of the desert. Travelers across the region almost always had some stock with them and grazed them as they went. Many times, large herds of cattle or sheep were driven over the various routes across the Mojave Desert, either to resupply Fort Mojave on the Colorado River or to move livestock to fresh range in New Mexico and Arizona. Military outposts constructed throughout the region also conducted small-scale grazing activity to supplement the soldiers' food supply. There were even a large number of homesteaders in those days that found the wide open desert a peaceful place to set up lands with their own small herds. Entrepreneurs took advantage of the open range nature of the area and the ready market in the form of miners and railroad workers. They set up many desert ranches in the years from 1875 to the end of the 19th century. Rock Tank was a part of one of those. The windmills out here are connected to the wells and provide mechanical force to pump the water up from the ground. Some, such as this one here at Rock Tank, are in decent shape and could easily be reused by survivors in a post-collapse world. Complex mechanicals such as this may seem simple to us now, but in the devastated world after the collapse of civilization, they won't be so easy to recreate. Back to the history as we walk the site. The Rock Springs Land and Cattle Company, like other ranchers in the area, grazed their cattle on public land without fences. They moved aggressively to purchase or trade for ownership of water rights, the possession of which enabled de facto control of the surrounding ranges. This led to many conflicts and sometimes actual shootouts with homesteaders and other ranchers in the area, including a big one that took place at Government Holes in 1925. This was the final straw for many of the homesteaders who had not left yet, and they did so after that. By 1894, the Rock Springs Land and Cattle Company, which the locals called the 88, is said to have supported about 10,000 head of cattle. It was the second largest cattle ranching operation in the state of California, which is actually remarkable when one considers the rugged desert terrain that the cattle were grazing in. The ranchers were able to develop innovative water allotment systems to widely distribute water resources from just a couple natural springs. The cows were allowed to roam free throughout the desert, and when it was time to send them off to markets, cowboys on horseback would track them down and gather them up at corrals. There were dozens of corrals built throughout the region for this purpose, mostly near natural water sources. Many of these corrals are still standing today, and in a post-collapse world, they could serve as valuable sources of water. Most are unknown, but some are well-kept secrets that are now used as prized primitive camping locations for the few people who know exactly where they are. The key to ranching in the desert is water, of course, and commercial ranches have developed extensive water systems which are also used by wildlife. Though no real definitive data exists, the numbers of both native and non-native species may have been enhanced by the long-term availability of these water sources, making it difficult to figure out exactly what pre-ranching levels of wildlife were actually like here. Another benefit for the post-collapse survivors in the area. In the same way, long-term ranching has quite possibly been responsible for the creation of some of the region's most magnificent landscapes, such as the Joshua Tree forests of Sema Dome and Landfair Valley. Often, if you look using Google Earth or some other satellite imaging software, you will see areas labeled as tanks in the same way as rock tank. The most common meaning of tanks in the desert refers to natural depressions or basins that collect rainwater, often after heavy rainfalls. These tanks serve as crucial water sources for wildlife and livestock in the arid desert environment. They're frequently located in low-lying areas, canyons, and around seasonal seeps or springs. In addition to the natural tanks, some maps may also refer to artificial water sources, or guzzlers as they're called, specifically designed to collect and store rainwater for wildlife. These are often used to supplement natural water sources and support wildlife populations, particularly with bighorn sheep out here. The California Department of Fish and Wildlife explains that some of these systems, like the famous rain catcher, have underground storage tanks to help conserve water. At any rate, resources such as these are important to be aware of, as they could represent life-saving sources of water for post-collapse desert dwellers. As we go along here, take a look at the fencing and structures, and you'll notice another little bit of trivia. These fence posts and quite a bit of the other structures were built using old railroad ties. If you look closely, you can still see the holes where the spikes originally secured the rails to them. Deep in the desert, wood is at a premium, and it was expensive to bring in. As older rail lines decommissioned, it only made sense to salvage them, something else collapse preppers like us need to remember. Our future will be one where everything we need will have to have been previously stockpiled, or else we need to build it or scavenge it for ourselves. There won't be any stores to go shopping in, at least not the kind of shopping we're accustomed to today. Out here, the same can be said for water sources, so keeping an eye on locations such as this is an important part of my own responsibilities. Here, to supplement the natural tank depression, a larger artificial tank has been built using the local stone, later supplemented with brick. Properly resealed, this could be the basis of a very nice catchment system someday. Piping is still in place to move water to the various drinking troughs on the side. Even though looking around from here, you would think this place would be easy to spot from the ground level of the trails, but the natural depression the place is situated in makes that a bit difficult. Almost bone dry inside, although that's about to change given the local forecast and the clouds on the horizon. Supposed to get some thunderstorms tonight, and I love watching the late night ones from out here. Many people these days have no idea what dark really is or what the night sky is actually supposed to look like. That's light pollution for you. You can get an even better look at these railroad ties used for fence construction as we walk towards the rear area. Nothing was wasted back in the day. We like to pretend that reusing and recycling is some relatively new development for society, but in truth, that was always the practice on the old frontier. Like many things from those times, it was just something that kind of got lost along the way. Sometimes it's amazing to me what we were able to accomplish so long ago. Things like codes and regulations and such were supposed to make things better and easier, but I rarely see it. Most modern fences in town, well, those can't last more than a couple decades at best. This thing here has been holding up for over 100 years, and it'll probably still be standing when I no longer am. Out here in the Mojave, all roads lead to water, and Rock Tank is no exception. Seeing the lines stretch out for miles, one must develop a healthy respect for the men and women who once braved this environment without anything close to the technology we have today. Remembering that also helps us realize that while we may have quite a bit that we need to relearn, it is easily possible to both survive and thrive, even on this dusty patch of scorched earth. Yet another of the many lessons this wasteland has to impart. It's up to us to learn these lessons and use them to make our plans for a time soon when all the world will be a wasteland in some form or another. That time is fast approaching and gets more visible on the horizon every day. Most people are still unaware of it, and they don't really have time to look closely, caught up as they are with all their little societal responsibilities. But hopefully I can reach a few, and I hope they take the time to look upward and outward at the world. so they aren't taken by surprise. Stay safe and stay ready, my friends. It's a wasteland out there.